Your load calculation software is not the problem. You are. And I say that with love because I've made every single mistake I'm about to show you. And I've watched contractors across New England make them too, on real jobs for real customers with real consequences. Here's what nobody tells you about Manual J software. It's extraordinarily powerful and extraordinarily easy to break. The math inside that software is solid. ACCA has been refining the Manual J methodology for decades. The algorithms are not guessing, but the software can only work with what you give it. Garbage in equals garbage out. And the scary part? The output looks perfectly professional either way. A load calculation built on bad inputs prints out the same clean PDF as one built on accurate inputs. There's no warning light and there's no error messages saying, hey, you just told me this house has R38 walls and that's probably wrong. It just runs numbers and hands you a result that looks completely legitimate. So today I'm going to walk you through the most common input errors that skew your load calculation results, the ones that I see over and over again when I'm reviewing contractor submittals, the ones that lead to oversized equipment, uncomfortable homes, and customers who call you back in July wondering why their new system can't keep up. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where to look in your own calculations to find the errors that are hiding in plain sight. Let's start with the one that gets more jobs wrong than anything else: design temperatures. When you open a new project in your Manual J software, one of the first things it asks you is your location. You punch in the zip code for the city and your software auto-populates outdoor design temperatures. Heating design temperature, cooling design temp, and cooling humidity conditions. And almost every contractor I've ever talked to just accepts those defaults and moves on. Here's the problem. Design temp data has multiple sources, and not all software databases uses the same one. ACCA Manual J references specific data from ASHRAE Fundamentals Handbook. Some software pulls from other datasets. Some pulls from Weather City data that might be the closest airport, or could be 40 miles from your job site at a completely different elevation. I've seen cases in New England where the auto-populated cooling design temp was 4 degrees lower than the ACCA reference value for the same town. That doesn't sound like much until you realize that 4 degrees affects your cooling load calculation, which affects your equipment selection, which affects whether your customer is comfortable on the hottest day of the year. The fix is simple, but it requires discipline. Every time you start a new project, verify your design temps against the ACCA Manual J Table 1A data or the current 99% ASHRAE data for that location. Don't just trust the autofill. Take 90 seconds and check it. That habit alone will improve the accuracy of every load calc you run from this point forward. Now let's talk about the one that inflates heating loads and sends contractors chasing equipment size they don't need: infiltration. Infiltration is the uncontrolled air leakage into and out of a building through gaps around windows, electrical outlets, through every little crack and penetration in the building envelope. It's a real load. It's a significant load in older homes, and it is almost universally entered wrong. Manual J gives you 2 ways to handle infiltration. The simplified method uses a general description of construction quality, so tight, semi-tight, average, semi-loose, loose. The enhanced method uses actual blower door test data. Most contractors use the simplified method, which is fine, but here's where it falls apart. When they describe the construction quality, they guess wildly. Why? Because nobody wants to tell a customer that their house is leaky. Because average sounds like an insult. Because the contractor hasn't actually looked at the attic bypasses, the rim joists, the plumbing penetrations, or recessed lights. So they click tight or average and move on. And the software calculates a lower infiltration load than the building actually has. On a 1970s Cape in Mass with original windows, no air sealing, and recessed lights all over the first floor ceiling, that house isn't average. That house is probably leaky. And if you enter it as average, you're understating the heat loss, potentially significantly. The customer buys a system sized to your calculation and then wonders why it runs constantly in January. Here's the flip side, and this one goes the other direction. On new construction or recently deep energy retrofitted homes where you actually have blower door data, use it. Enter the actual ACH 50 number from the test. Don't use simplified method on a tight house just because it's faster. A new construction home built to the modern energy code in Mass might blow at 2 ACH 50 or better. Standard code is 3 ACH 50. If you use the simplified tight option instead of actual data, you might still be overstating infiltration. On a high performance home, that matters. All right, next error, and this one is everywhere: glass. Window area is one of the biggest drivers of window load in a residential Manual J. Solar gain through glass is enormous compared to the conductive heat flow through an insulated wall. And window area is always one of the easiest things to get wrong because most contractors are estimating it, not measuring it. Here's a scenario that plays out constantly. Contractor's doing a load calc on a 2,000 square foot colonial. He's working off a floor plan that the customer printed off of Zillow. The plan shows windows, but it doesn't give dimensions. So he looks at the elevation, eyeballs the windows, and enters something like 15 square feet each. It's a standard window. It seems reasonable. But here's what actually happened. The homeowner did a renovation 8 years ago and replaced 4 of those original windows with large picture windows on the south and west walls. Those windows are 24 square feet each, not 15. That's a 60% undercount on some of the highest solar gain windows in the house. The cooling load calculation is now significantly understated, and the equipment you select based on that calc will not be able to keep up on a 90-degree afternoon with the sun hammering those west windows at 4 p.m. Measure the windows, every one of them. Height times width. Note the orientation, north, south, east, west. Note the shading conditions. Is there a 6-foot overhang? These things all matter, and the software has inputs for all of them, but you have to give it real numbers. And while we're talking about glass, U factor and solar heat gain coefficient, those are the 2 thermal performance numbers on a window. U factor is the heat transfer rate. It's similar to like the U value for a wall. Solar heat gain coefficient, which tells you how much solar radiation passes through the glass into the house as well. A lot of contractors enter window performance data based on the age of the house. With an old house, they may assume double pane. New house, assume good double pane. That's too conservative. A double pane window from 1992 with no low E coating has a very different solar heat gain coefficient than a modern triple pane window low E with argon. On a house with a lot of south or west facing glass, the difference in solar heat gain coefficient can swing your cooling load by thousands of BTUs. If the windows were replaced at any point, get the make and model and look up the actual performance specs. NFRC rated windows have their U factor and solar heat gain coefficient listed. Use them. All right, let's move on to insulation values because this is where I see some truly creative inputs. When a contractor enters insulation values into Manual J software, they're supposed to enter what's actually in the building or what's going to be there after weatherization. The actual R value of the insulation in the actual walls and ceiling. What often gets entered instead is what the contractor thinks is probably there based on the age of the house and what typically is installed at that time. I get it. You're not going to cut holes in every wall to check, but there's a range of reasonable assumptions, and then there's wishful thinking. I've reviewed load calcs for 1960s ranches where the contractor entered R19 walls. It was a standard 2x4 wall cavity in the house. From that era, it might have R11 bats if you're lucky. Entering R19 on a house like that understates your heat loss and your cooling loads in a way that can push you a full equipment size in the wrong direction. Here's what I recommend. Use visual inspection whenever you can. Pull a switch plate on an exterior wall. You can often see the cavity and get a sense what's there. Make sure to check your attic yourself. Don't take the homeowner's word for it. They rarely know, and if they do know, they're usually optimistic. Check the rim joists in the basement. Check for any energy audit reports the homeowner might have. Like in Massachusetts, a lot of homes have had mass save audits, and those reports include actual insulation measurements, and that's gold, so use it. And while we're on the subject of building assemblies, let's talk about ceilings with attics versus cathedral ceilings versus flat roofs, because those get mixed up constantly. The heat transfer path through a vented attic assembly is different from a cathedral ceiling. A vented attic has dead airspace that acts as a buffer. The calculation has to account for the attic air temperature, not just the outdoor air temperature and cooling. The software handles this correctly if you tell it what you have. But if you enter a vented attic assembly when the home actually has a cathedral ceiling, say over a great room addition, you're using the wrong heat transfer model entirely and the loads will be wrong. The input has to match what's physically there. Now let's get to the one that almost nobody thinks about. Internal gains in the cooling calc. Manual J accounts for heat generated inside the house, so people, lights, appliances. In cooling, all of that adds to the load. In heat loss, it offsets the load, but it's not part of the heat loss calculation. The software has some default values for this, and most of the time, those defaults are fine for a typical residential occupancy. But consider this, you're doing a load calc for a home office addition. The customer works from home. There's 3 monitors, a high-powered desktop, a laser printer, and a video production setup running in a 200 square foot former bedroom. That is not a typical residential internal gain. Those electronics are producing real heat. And if you use the default residential internal gain values for that space, you're going to undersize the cooling for that room. The customer is going to be very hot every single afternoon when they're trying to work, and they're going to blame the system. Ask your customers how they use the spaces. It's a 2-minute conversation that can change a room load calculation significantly. A home gym, a home theater, a workshop with equipment running, all of these have above average internal gains that need to be accounted for. All right, a load calculation is only as good as the site data you collect before you run it. The software is not the expert. You're the expert. The software is just a calculator. And if you walk into a house, spend 20 minutes eyeballing things, and then go home and punch in a bunch of assumptions, you've not done a load calc. You've done an estimate wearing a load calculations clothes. And when that customer has problems, comfort problems, humidity issues, high utility bills, you won't be able to defend your design because your design wasn't really based on the building. It was based on your best guess about the building. Look, I know the time pressure is real. I know you've got 3 other jobs to look at this week and the customer wants a proposal by Friday, but the field data collection is not optional. It's the whole thing. The software is fast. The field time is what separates a real load calculation from a number that gives you a legal cover. Here's what a real pre-calc site visit looks like. You're measuring room dimensions, ceiling heights, window dimensions, and orientations. You're checking insulation in the attic and at the rim joist. You're noting window conditions and trying to identify the glazing specs. You're looking at the mechanical system location and the duct system if there is one. You're asking the customer about comfort complaints. Which rooms are hot, which rooms are cold, when it happens, and what the outdoor conditions are. All of that goes into the calculation. All of it affects the result. And all of it is available to you if you just slow down and look. The errors I've walked you through today, wrong design temps, wrong infiltration, window area, insulation values, internal gain, none of these are exotic. None of them require advanced software skills to fix. They require field discipline. They require the habit of measuring instead of assuming. They require treating the load calc as a building science document, not a paperwork requirement. Your software, it's not lying to you. It's telling you exactly what you told it. The question is whether what you told it is true. To get a complete framework for implementing this into your business and evaluating every weak link in your current process, watch the 15-point HVAC system design audit that shows you exactly where money's fallen through the cracks. Thanks for joining me this week at HVAC Pro Blog, where we provide advice for residential system design, quality installation, and system diagnosis. I'll see you soon.